eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
I was muted. What the hell is going on? We made it. 40,000 of you freaks. What a time to be alive. Thank you guys. I can't believe how quickly we've hit 40K. It's been kind of wild, to be honest. It was literally a month ago I was at 20K. And I think at that point I was talking to someone and I said, if this shit starts growing any quicker, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. And it has. And I do feel uncomfortable because there's just, I can just feel that there's a lot more people. Well, I can feel it. And it's just kind of weird. It wasn't that long ago that I was just talking about aliens in my bedroom to a couple of hundred people, and I liked that. But, this was 100K was obviously always the goal. And, I'm not mad about it, but it's just happened a bit quickly. That's all. And I'm just getting used to it. But thank you guys for being here. I'm excited. We're going to be looking at the legendary Bill Cooper today. Basically like the Michael Jordan of tinfoil hatters. But an OG nonetheless, and with a very compelling story. So we're going to be looking at that. The full interview is actually 2 hours. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to watch the first half tonight, and then we're going to watch the second half tomorrow morning. So, normally I stream at night in Australia, but there are people who miss out because it just doesn't work out for them. So I do like to spread the love and, try and stream at different times if I can. You're streaming at 480p? I don't think I am. I don't think I am, but maybe you should just check your settings. Attempted Human, welcome, sir, you little freak. Thank you for being here. Can we get some love? And for Rusty, who's just gifted a membership as well. And you know what? While we're celebrating, while we're spreading love and we're hanging out, we're feeling good, we're at 40,000, we're having a good time, we actually have something very important to do. And if you're new, this may be your first ceremony, so welcome. Please take a seat. If everyone at home could please take out their Bibles. Mine is just here in red. It's quite dusty because we haven't used it for a while. So please, blow your dust off the Bible. That's better. And if we could all open up to page 4. Now, if you've been on YouTube for a little while consuming some weirdo content, you might notice that whenever you look at something that has a compelling or an interesting story that goes against the narrative, Wikipedia likes to pop up below the video and tell you that it's just a conspiracy theory and that you shouldn't worry about it, right? Because obviously Wikipedia is the most reliable source of information on the internet. Well, I've been collecting these things because I have the collection autism. This is the unhinged Pokédex. This is the autistic Ash Ketchum of conspiracy theories. And so far, we've collected 9 out of 11. That could be a conspiracy theory in itself. 9/11. We've had many doubles, but we've got a new one. And I didn't actually notice that I had this until someone pointed it out to me. So whoever you are, thank you. And can we all please put our hands together for the Satanic Panic? Just a conspiracy theory. Yep, all those people coming out, all those victims, they're just doing it for attention. Yeah, just for attention. The Satanic Panic, according to Wikipedia, the Satanic Panic is a moral panic consisting of over 12,000 unsubstantiated cases of satanic ritual abuse starting in North America in the 1980s, spreading throughout many parts of the world in the late 1990s, and persisting today. So just remember that whenever you hear people speaking out about the abuse they suffered their entire life, being born into these ritualistic satanic families, they're just lying. They're just losers trying to get attention. Okay? Thank you, Wikipedia. Thank you for that. So guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining the ceremony with me. Debatable Facts put in $10 and says, congrats, Josh. Incoming intelligence asset accusations. We've already had many of them. You're growing so fast. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of the support, guys. I really do. Even when I feel like an imposter. All right. Let's get into it. So, whoops. Let's jump over here. Deep State Josh. Yep. I am the Deep State. You caught me. I mean, the CIA are still months behind on their paycheck. But, you know, I'm waiting. Morning, Josh, from Prince Edward Island, Canada. Good morning, Ben. Nice to see you. Polarity is all an AI Psy-Op. That is actually true. I am not real. I am just an AI avatar. Yep. Prove that I'm not. Ask Grok. Most people do. Thank you for making my mornings, brother Josh. This is Izzy shouting out from Miami. My man, Izzy. Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, look, we uploaded a video yesterday about the USS Abnaki. We've all heard about Bluegill Triple Prime. High altitude nuke test. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It adds a lot of context to a very interesting case that most of us know about, and that is the salvage operation that took place after it. And basically, in the middle of the Pacific, they tried to recover what got knocked down out of Bluegill Triple Prime. And it's a wild story. There's testimony and there's evidence to back it up. But I thought it would be cool to check out Bill Cooper's story today, because in this famous interview, which is from 1992, he talks about how he saw in the 60s, which is the same era as Bluegill Triple Prime, he saw a giant a giant disc-shaped craft the size of an aircraft carrier come out of the ocean, go up, and then he says he either saw another one come back down and go back in the ocean. Now, obviously, I've just spoiled the video for you, but we've got nearly 50 minutes of we've got 50 minutes of Bill to listen to today. AI would give you a better haircut. Just kidding. Yeah, if you have watched that video from yesterday, you might have seen that the most liked comment was roasting the absolute fuck out of my haircut, which, you know, cost me $75. Thank you very much. And I like it. So I'm going to keep rocking that haircut. All right. It's a party at the back and it's a bit of business at the front. What more do you want or need? Attempted Human with another $5. Dude, I just became a member. I must have clocked over 5,000 hours of YouTube UFO podcasts, and yours is seriously the hands down best ever. You are too kind. Take me out to dinner first, all right? Because you get me in the mood. Thank you very much. And Stevie with $15. Josh Hammer 40K special stream incoming. Great job. Thank you very much, Stevie. Look, how about we just go to a rave together, bro? How about that? I think we'll have a much better time than playing Warhammer like a bunch of virgins. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very much a virgin myself. All right, enough of the nerdy shit. Let's talk about Bill Cooper. So, little bit of context on him first, and then we'll play the interview just in case anyone doesn't know who he is. So, Milton William Bill Cooper, 1943 to 2001. And I love this, by the way. Was an American conspiracy theorist. Now, don't mind the fact that he was like in the Air Force, in the Navy, in naval intelligence. He was just a conspiracy theorist. Classic Wikipedia. I wonder what they're going to put underneath this video. Also, author was known for his 1991 Behold a Pale Horse, in which he warned of multiple global conspiracies, some involving extraterrestrial life. Cooper also described HIV and AIDS as a man-made disease used to target blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals, and that a cure was made before it was implemented. He has been described as a militia theoretician. Cooper was killed in 2001 by sheriff's deputies after he shot at them during an attempted arrest. So yeah, I think basically he had had a few attempts on his life, and during one of them he shot back and he got killed. That's my understanding of that story anyway. Next page. The Behold a Pale Horse is the famous book that he has written. I haven't read it because I can't read, but it is on the list once I learn to read. In 1991, Cooper wrote and published Behold a Pale Horse, and it's basically, well, according to someone else, they've labeled it an elaborate conspiracy theory that encompasses the Kennedy assassination, the doings of the secret world government, the coming ice age, and a variety of other covert activities associated with the Illuminati's declaration of war upon the American people. Now that doesn't sound like the reality that we live in, does it? Cooper's views were heavily influenced by John Lear and his story of alien collusion with secret government forces. In 1989, the two released an indictment against the US government for aiding and ableting, I can't really read that from here, and concealing this alien nation which exists in our borders. Interesting. An alien nation which exists in our, aka American borders. They were the tip of the spear, asserting that the number one thing we had to fear was not little green men, but the government that colluded with them, appropriating their technology against us. Cooper and Lear's collaboration lasted for a few years, after which Cooper accused Lear of being a CIA plant. Ah, yes. The way every good friendship in the world of UFOs and conspiracy ends. One person accusing the other of being a CIA agent. But interesting, right? These guys were talking about a conspiracy theory, of course, that America was colluding with a non-human intelligence in exchange for technology. Now, doesn't that just sound crazy? Cooper linked the Illuminati with his beliefs that extraterrestrials were secretly involved with the United States government, but later retracted these claims. He accused President Eisenhower of negotiating a treaty with extraterrestrials in 1954, which supposedly allowed the aliens to abduct humans in exchange for technological assistance. Wow, haven't heard that one before. Cooper then claimed that Eisenhower had established an inner circle of Illuminati to manage relations with the aliens and keep their presence a secret from the general public. Yeah, we've seen a documentary on that. It's called Men in Black. Cooper believed the aliens manipulated and or ruled the human race through various secret societies, religions, magic, witchcraft, and the occult. And even the Illuminati were unknowingly being manipulated by them. So this guy's basically just explaining Majestic 12 and the reality that the elite are deeply involved in the occult, as per Bohemian Grove, as per the rampant satanic ritual abuse around the world. But of course, he's a professional conspiracy theorist. The Cookie, celebrating 1 month as a weirdo, currently having some issues in my fam, and coming to Polarity feels like coming home to a warm hug. Love y'all. Oh, my man. I hope you're doing well. I hope things pick up for you, bro. Shout out to you and shout out to your cat, P. Shaw. Appreciate you both. All right. That's it. You're primed. You've got the background. You know that this guy is just a lunatic conspiracy theorist that we should not listen to. And that's why we are going to listen to 50 minutes of him now. Enjoy.
Bill, well, thanks for agreeing to the interview. First of all, a little bit about your background. You had extensive military service for many years prior to 1970, where a certain aspect of that military service kicked upstairs, so you were able to see certain things that you were not able to see beforehand. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
It actually started much longer in my past than that. I was reared in a military family. My father's an Air Force colonel. He's retired now. He was a command pilot. And as a child, I remember sitting around I remember the pilots at our house sitting around the kitchen table, talking about their exploits in the cockpit and what they had seen in the skies. And some of that talk involved UFOs and what some of them called Foo Fighters. And I traveled all over the world, lived on military bases for most of my life. I was really an indoctrinated individual, you might say. I was as establishment as you could get, as gung-ho, pro-government, pro-America, pro-military. And that's why I went into the military, because that had been so much of my life. I went into the Air Force. I was in the Strategic Air Command for 4 years as an aircraft and missile hydraulic technician, which is, I worked on the pneumatic and hydraulic systems of B-52 bombers, KC-135 aircraft, and Minuteman missiles. I had a secret security clearance. That's where I saw my first atomic bomb. I mean, we worked around in these planes, especially the ones on the alert pad, were always loaded, ready to go drop these bombs at a moment's notice. But while I was in the Air Force, I met sergeants, men who were older than me, and had been in the Air Force for quite a while, told me that they had participated in projects that had recovered crashed extraterrestrial craft, what you call UFOs. And they never told these stories unless they had quite a bit to drink. So I never really believed it. I thought, well, these guys are running a scam on me, even though I'd heard about these things when I was a kid. I just still didn't believe in them. They're just so far out in left field, it's not something that you really give any serious thought to until something personal happens, which came later. Well, I left.
How do you guys feel so far about this guy? 2.5 minutes. I want to know what your read is on him, because to me, like, I mean, I can't get a full read just yet, but the fact that the way he's talking about UFOs and stuff, doesn't come across to me as a guy who's like some weird UFO lore nutter. Like, he does not come across like that at all.
After the Air Force, I went into the Navy, which was really where I wanted to be in the first place. I'd always had this tremendous feeling and connection with the ocean. I was an excellent swimmer, but I had a problem as a child. I had chronic motion sickness. If I got in a car and we went on a long trip, I got deathly ill, and same with boats or anything. I couldn't ride on the things at the carnival that went around and round because it just made me tremendously ill. But I decided after I had gone through the Air Force experience that sick or not, I was going to go in the Navy because that's really what I had wanted to do. So I did. Volunteered for submarine duty and was assigned to the USS Tyru, SS-416, which was a diesel-electric boat, World War II type, that had been reconfigured. When I went on board the boat, it was in the dry dock at Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard and had literally been cut in half. They put in a 12-foot sonar section and then 3 domes on the deck for triangulating targets using sonar. And this was really one of the most up-to-date electronically submarines that we had. Wasn't a nuclear submarine, but as far as the ability to approach, get close to a target and destroy it, it had a better capacity to do that than any other boat that we had. While we were on a transit from the Portland-Seattle area on the surface, I was the port lookout, and I saw the most incredible thing that I think I've ever seen in my life. And it had such a profound effect upon my view of the universe and the world that we live in.
Ontological shock.
That I wish everybody could experience this. I saw come up out of the ocean, from beneath the surface of the sea, a huge disc-shaped craft about the size of a Midway-class aircraft carrier, which is tremendous in size. Even though that's one of our smallest carriers, or was then, it's still a huge, tremendously big object. Came up out of the ocean and rose into the air and tumbled on its axis and went up into the clouds, and I was awestruck, dumbstruck. And I mean dumbstruck, literally. I could not utter a sound. And my first impulse was to tell the officer of the deck that I'd seen a flying saucer. And then, luckily for me, I couldn't talk. Because on second thought, that's not what I really wanted to say. Because I didn't want to be the only Looney Tunes character on a submarine with a tight-knit crew that you had to live in close quarters with. Because that's a hell of a way to live. So I told the officer of the deck that I'd seen something about 15 degrees off the port bow at a relative distance of about 2.5 nautical miles. And he began to look in that area. And the starboard lookout had heard me tell him this, and he began to look over there. And while we were all three watching, either the same craft or another one exactly like it came down out of the clouds, tumbled again on its, why it did this maneuver, I don't know, but every single time it did it. It's like it came down in this attitude, and then it flipped over, and then entered the water. And the water just appeared to open up in front of it. It's just like the account in the Bible about the parting of the Red Sea. That's exactly what happened. The sea actually parted, and this thing went into the water, and it closed up behind it. and this big spray went up into the air. But it wasn't a spray from the craft hitting the water. It was a spray from the water coming back in to fill up this hole that had been created.
Wild story, right? So this is a disc shape the size of a aircraft carrier. He's seen it come out of the ocean, and the rotating on its axis is something that we hear a lot. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's part of the Bob Lazar testimony that Bob Lazar doesn't necessarily say that they tumble on their axis, but that they turn up on their side to shoot off. That's also a detail in the Westall in Australia, in Melbourne, 1966 or whatever. That's what they said happened too, that the crafts came up, turned on its side, and just shot off. Not exactly tumbling, but like similar details in that these things like rotate to move. Shunt for $5 says, first time making the live, Josh. You, Jesse, and Y-Files are elite. Man, every time I get mentioned in the same sentence as those guys, I feel like an imposter. But thank you. It's very kind of you to suggest that. I appreciate you very much. And the whole parting of the sea on the way down, right? And sorry, if I didn't mention this story, or if he mentioned it, I don't know, is in the 60s. He saw this in the 60s. Now, as you all know, as the diligent students that you are, the SR-71 was being built in the 1950s. Now, I'm a big advocate for the fact that a lot of the things that we see in our skies are advanced skunkworks technology. I really do think that. But I think when you say that, a lot of people automatically think that means like you don't believe in UFOs, like you think it's just government tech. No. Definitely believe in UFOs, but I think like modern sightings, a lot of it is probably us. But I mean, when you're seeing this stuff in the 60s, I think this is a wild case. This is not anything of ours. What it could be though, I have no idea. I tend to lean towards advanced human race. I lean towards an advanced race. Potentially the people who built the pyramids, potentially the people who built the resonantly tuned chambers underneath Derinkuyu in Turkey. You know, the chambers that look like people went under to survive a cataclysm. So what happened to them when the cataclysm finished and they survived? Yeah, I don't know. No one's really asking or answering that question. Maybe they realized the surface is just too cooked and it's better to just live underground or live under the ocean because you've got wild technology that can build pyramids and build these crazy underground shafts. So you can also probably build bases under the ocean. I don't know, just a guess. Actually, it's just a guess, but it makes sense, right?
And again, you know, I think this is incredible. What are we looking at here? And it was metal. It was a machine, and it wasn't glowing or anything like that. It didn't have any lights on it that we could see. But it was obviously metal, and it was obviously a machine. And although I can't tell you that there was anyone inside of it, I believe that there was. And it did something that, as far as I knew, was absolutely impossible. I'd been in the Air Force. I'd worked on the state-of-the-art of our aviation capabilities. And here I was on the deck of a submarine in the conning tower. And I knew what we had to be able to have to go underwater. And I knew that the two were incompatible. Here's something that came from under the water and flew in the air and performed maneuvers and then came back down and interfaced with the water at tremendous speed and remained intact. Which realistically, it never touched the water. The water sort of magically opened up in front of it, but something had to interface with that water. Anything that we had that interfaced with the water in that manner would have been disintegrated. It's like hitting a brick wall. So I was looking at a technology that, as far as our laws of physics and what we knew at that time, didn't exist. This was in 1966.
There you go. 66. With technology that is literally parting the ocean. Parting the ocean. What is he, Moses? What is that, Moses in a UFO? Andy with $5 says the crafts that rotate and take off have no lights are the ones I definitely believe. It's a unique characteristic. 100%. I agree. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we had maybe like worked out our own versions by now. But you know, when you were talking about 66, no shot. No way. Attempted Human, $5 says first time on a live and first time I've ever become a member of any YouTube channel before. Was going to join Area 52, but this is better. Thank you. I would politely disagree, but thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate that. To take your YouTube membership virginity is an honor. Daniel LaFlame gifted a membership, and if you were lucky enough to receive that, use your manners. Make sure you say thanks. And can we get some love for our latest weirdo? And Stevie with $15 says, I already like this one, Stevie. He says, if Operation High Jump after World War II really involved UFOs chasing away a whole fleet, a giant UFO in 1966 doesn't sound unrealistic at all. The Nazi connection to all of this is critical, in my opinion. Oh, Stevie, you are dirty talking me, my man. You are dirty talking me when you say stuff like that. Yep. You're on it. You are all over it. You are all over it, my friend. And I'm a fan. Thank you very much for the $15, Stevie.
Ensign Ball was as shocked as I was. He called the captain to the bridge. He came up with the chief quartermaster who brought a camera. And we all stood there and watched this occur over and over again for about 10 minutes. And I still to this day don't know if it was the same craft or a whole bunch of different craft going in and out of the water. But it seemed like that there was a hell of a lot of traffic on that freeway right there. And we were watching it as we went by. We never changed course. We never lowered or increased our speed. We made no attempt to communicate or signal. We made no attempt to get closer. And eventually, it just stopped. We were told not to discuss it with anyone, not even amongst ourselves, which was incredible. I never had been told anything like that in my life. You know, you can't talk about something. And to be told that we couldn't even talk about it amongst ourselves was even more extraordinary, I thought. But we didn't. We didn't talk about it.
Like, it's crazy how we hear this so often, right? Remember when we looked at Connor O'Ryan? Yeah, Connor O'Ryan or Derek Hennessy, you know, whatever name you want to give him, from the S4 files. And he said, you couldn't even talk to anyone when he worked at S4. Like, you couldn't talk to anyone. And no one had names. They just had numbers. Like, this is crazy. And, you know, like, tell us, like, you're up to something without telling us you're up to something. You know what I mean? Like, what, we can't talk to each other about this? Like, okay, bro, you're obviously hiding something then. Like, it feels like when we look at this stuff retrospectively, like it's over 30 years later. It seems like so obvious now. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I feel like back then when you hear like, oh, we were told we shouldn't talk about it, it's kind of like, oh, maybe it's just secret military rules. But like now it's like, bro, obviously like you're being gaslit here and that you're being lied to. Obviously. Sunny Cat 85, welcome, you little freak. Thank you for being here. Check out the members only content. Hopefully going to have a new members only video coming out this week as well. And hopefully the merch will be launching this weekend and the members will be getting first dibs on that one.
When we got to Pearl Harbor, all the time the chief quartermaster was taking pictures of this. So I know photographs were made. What happened to those photographs, I have no idea. But when we reached Pearl Harbor, we were not allowed to go ashore to go on liberty, even though we didn't have the duty. And about 2 hours after we berthed at the submarine base, a commander from the Office of Naval Intelligence came on board and debriefed each one of us individually in the captain's stateroom. And the ultimate outcome of the debriefing was that we didn't see anything, we didn't hear anything, and we had to read rules and regulations that told us that if we ever talked about what it was that we didn't see, that we could be imprisoned, we could be fined $10,000, we could lose all pay and allowances due or ever to become due, And I learned at that moment that the United States Navy didn't want anybody to know about what we saw.
Which is like, why wouldn't you? You may have saw something that is like completely changes the world you live in. What does that mean? You're just not interested? You don't want to know? Or you already know and you're trying to contain the information? I think the answer there is quite obvious. Don't forget the SR-71 was built in the 1950s. Very good, Simon Hogg. You are a absolute scholar of the channel, clearly. And Sambo says, Josh, do you enjoy an adult beverage? Yeah, I like, I drink cordial, maybe a lemonade on a Friday. I wonder when they made NDA standard procedure. Probably at least the 50s, I would say, or probably 1947, actually. Emily with $10 says, Josh, your channel is gaining subs because your content is supreme. Thank you for taking us all along the wild ride. It is my pleasure. I'm so glad you think the content is supreme. I'm doing my best. And I appreciate the support, Emily. You're in here a lot, helping out, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. I never heard someone say cordial like that. How would you say it? Cordial? I'm assuming you're American. Cordial? Cordial. Yeah, I guess it does. It's one of those words that's just weird, isn't it? Like singlet. Singlet is the weirdest word in the world.
And that severe consequences could come down around the neck of anybody who did. And that was when I understood fully that, yeah, there's a real cover-up. These things do exist, number one, and at least the United States Navy doesn't want anybody to know about it. And there's stiff penalties for anybody who bucks that.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward a few years from, what, 1966, I believe, you gained a special security clearance that revealed to you certain documents, or were revealed to you, or that you saw relating to this very cover-up.
To this and many other things. I was eventually trained by Naval Security and Intelligence, and I was given a secondary NEC, which is Naval Enlisted Code, which was 9545, which is Internal Security Specialist. And an internal security specialist is someone who protects classified information, and protects areas, so to speak. And I had a specialty, which I was trained in, which was Pacific Area Intelligence Briefings. And I was eventually assigned to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who was Admiral Bernard Clary at that time, and served as a member of his intelligence briefing team. And basically all that means, we really had a wonderful job. You come in about 4 o'clock in the morning and you go through all the message traffic and everything. And what you do is what we did was we prepared an updated briefing on everything that was happening in his half of the world, which he commanded the naval forces and marine forces, as a matter of fact. And put all this together in a briefing where we would update him on ongoing operations, brief him about operations that were scheduled to begin, political situations, deployment of Soviet forces, naval forces, everything. And after the briefing was finished, between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning, then we were done, we were finished. So it was what you call fat cat duty or gedunk duty in the Navy. It's got all different kinds of names. It's just really a wonderful job.
Contra says Operation Hairline. Yeah. I think I'm about to get roped into that operation, bro. The Greys are clearly abducting my hairline. It's a absolute travesty.
Now to be able.
ADX with $20. Sarcasm is on point tonight. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I do my best for you guys. I do my best. Yep, Contra's feeling the same. Yep, those pesky Greys, bro. I've noticed that like once you start hitting 30, the Greys start appearing and the hairline starts disappearing. So I can't, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. And ADX has gifted 5 memberships. What a legend, ADX. Thank you very much. Let's get some love in the chat for 5 new freaks who have just joined the club. Welcome, guys, and thank you.
To function in this job, I had to have a security clearance, which gave me access to the information that I had to need to know to help prepare these briefings. And when I first was assigned to the command, I was attached to the OPSTAT office under Lieutenant Commander Mercado, which was operational status reporting. And while I waited for my security clearance, and it took 6 months to get it, what I eventually ended up with was a top secret Q clearance with an SCI attachment, which means sensitive compartmentalized information, and there were no blocks. In other words, there was nothing confining me to only certain compartmentalized information. I had access to whatever the admiral and his staff had access to, because we had to prepare briefings and brief these people on all of these things. And I'm sure that at first I was tested and wasn't shown a whole lot, but eventually, when they began to have confidence in me, I began to see things coming across my desk that were just absolutely incredible. And a lot of it is really hard to talk about because it's so far outside the normal concept of reality for the average American that they're going to find a hard time believing any of it.
Not here, Bill. Not here. This is literally like nursery rhymes. You know what I mean? This is just another day at the office, Bill. You're in a safe place.
But I saw documents that were labeled under the classification top secret, and the compartmentalized, the compartment that was put into was called Magic, M-A-J-I-C, which told me that that UFOs are real, which I already knew. I'd seen one.
Right.
But this went farther than that. It told me that they were extraterrestrial in origin, that there were 4 different extraterrestrial species or races visiting this Earth, and that they had actually entered into an agreement with the United States government with one of these species of alien beings to exchange technology. And it told me all the projects that was underneath this. Project Red Light was actually the testing of extraterrestrial craft. Project Plato was a diplomatic project.
This guy's legit. Doesn't sound like bullshit to me. He does not come across like he's bullshitting to me at all. He's not sensationalist. He's not dancing around his words. He's just like calmly and collectively recalling his memory. Like, that's just very obvious to me. Not that I'm some know-it-all, but like when people are being honest, it's very clear. It's very clear. And like when people are being dishonest, what's clear is that they're being dishonest. It's obviously it's not clear what part of what they're saying is a lie. You know, how can you tell? But you can tell when someone is being dishonest. You can just tell. MIB disagrees. Fair enough, sir. Present your argument, please. If you're going to disagree, please present your argument. He's no drama queen. He's absolutely sincere. Yeah, he seems legit, but maybe that's VatZ can't. Are you okay? There's a few people in chat that I'm a little bit concerned about. This looks pre-grid DC Press Club UFO news. Yeah, this is 1992. Jack Smith. So almost 10 years earlier. In America, we call it the bullshit meter. You just kind of instinctively know. Yeah, I think it's something we all have. It's called intuition, but most people don't realize it, or they don't think about it, or they think it's just like a funny feeling. Ooh, what's that funny feeling I'm getting? That's your intuition, bro. Wake the fuck up.
Pounce was the recovery of technology. Pluto was the application of that technology to our own secret space program, not the public space program. There are 2 different space programs. One is what the public gets to see, which is overseen by NASA, and the other one is a secret space program that nobody gets to see, which is really overseen by the Navy Department under specialized compartmentalized black projects. And and what these people are doing in secret is just absolutely incredible. I also saw documents under an operation called Operation Majority, which outlined the plans to bring together a one world government. It also included extraterrestrial information within that. Project Grudge, which was the second project. First was Sign, and then Project Grudge, which contained all of the extraterrestrial information up to a certain point. I forget the year cutoff.
Kat says there are lots of really good lies around. Yeah, that is a great point, and that is something to be aware of, that some people are trained professionally to lie. But I think aside from how we feel when we listen to him, it's important to consider his story, right? And his story is he had multiple attempts on his life for saying these kind of things. Now, are the police going out arresting the homeless guy who looks like he just came out of Jumanji on the corner of the street in the city who's rambling on about like absolute nonsense? No, they don't care because he's just talking shit. So why do you care when this guy says this? I mean, if UFOs and aliens aren't real, and that's why we get Wikipedia stickers under all of our videos because it's all just a conspiracy theory, why do you care? Why did you shoot him? Why did he die from a bullet? I mean, that's not funny, but like the story is funny. The cookie with $5 says, it's okay. I was originally going to be a 6'5", but aliens flipped my genes and now I'm a humble 5'6". Oh, my brother. Yeah. Unlucky. They got the numbers backwards. They're, well, I was about to say they're only human. They're not. But I guess they're more like us than we realize. Just a clerical error. Unlucky, bro.
And then it was contained after that in another project called...
Sorry, yes, he is dead. Yes, Bill Cooper died in 2001. I think like 3 or 4 months before 9/11 happened, and he was calling out 9/11. In fact, some people say that Alex Jones obviously famously predicted 9/11. Some people say that he was literally just parroting what Bill Cooper said. I don't know that for sure. I've just heard people say it.
Project Aquarius, which was the accumulation of the whole history of alien interaction on planet Earth. But I have to say at this point that I don't know if those documents were really telling the truth or not. They could have been showing me these things so that eventually I would go out and talk about this. And maybe that'll become clear to you later why they may have done that. It could be real. So, but
at this point, from a personal standpoint, what was it that, based on your experience in '66, and they said, absolutely do not reveal this to anybody. And here we are a few years later, and you're seeing documents that prove that what you saw was real. What was the one factor or a number of factors that led you to the decision to say, I've got to get this out, I've got to tell people about this?
I saw contingency plans called Majestic. And these contingency plans were to, first place, a contingency is a plan that can be implemented if certain things occur. And the certain things that would have tripped this contingency plan are, number one, the public sector is getting too close to the truth, so they have to implement this to get them steered off the track. Or number two, we don't want to tell the public the truth about the alien presence, but there's so much alien activity occurring that the public is on the verge of finding out anyway. Let's tell them this story so that it doesn't cause consequences that we don't want.
Catastrophic disclosure is what he means, I believe.
And that plan was called Majestic. I was in a bookstore one time. I'd never seen UFO magazine. Didn't even know it existed. In fact, I didn't even know that there was a UFO culture in the world of people who study UFOs or worship UFOs or have little UFO meetings. I had no idea that that was occurring. I was in a bookstore one time and I was looking at the magazine rack. I'm an avid reader and I'm always in bookstores. And this one day I saw a magazine just popped right out at me at UFO. And I picked it up and I looked inside and here is Majestic. All right there. And even the people who had been named to implement the plan were the ones who were actually implementing it. William Moore, Stanton Friedman. I'd never heard of Jamie Chandray, but he was named, and they had brought out a supposed genuine document called the Eisenhower Briefing document. which in reality is a fraudulent document. It's a fake, and it was created to implement the plan Majestic to either indoctrinate the public on what the government wants the public to perceive is happening, or to steer researchers away from the truth, or both.
So this wasn't.
Definitely both. But what he's saying is kind of weird, right? Like, he was in a bookstore, saw a magazine about UFOs and opened it up, and then he saw like a detailed plan for this Majestic magic thing that includes Stanton Friedman. Like, I don't know, maybe I've sort of misinterpreted that a little bit, but it sounds like he's saying like he found evidence of like a grand scheme in a magazine in a bookstore. I don't know. Am I misreading that?
Revealing the plan of Majestic, but it was actually implementing the plan.
Implementing the plan against the public. It was a psychological operation against the public.
This is what you saw.
So immediately my head began to spin around, and I began to think, God, you know, I've got to tell people that they're being manipulated. This is a lie. And it really, if the public were using their own intellect, they would know that it was a lie. The executive
Come on, Bill, that's asking a bit much.
order quoted for this document was in 92,000 something. I believe it was 92447, which is 92,447, and it was supposedly written by Truman. But Truman never wrote an executive order higher than 9,000. I mean, even today, there's no executive order with the number 92,000 on it. They've been consecutive since the beginning.
So it was clearly fraudulent.
So it's clearly fraudulent, but the public doesn't catch on to this. And here you got Stanton Friedman, one of the guys who implemented the contingency plan, Majestic, running around the country telling everybody it's not an executive order, it's a date, September 24th, 1947, which it very well could be a date. But it's listed in that document as being an executive order of the President of the United States, Harry Truman. And because of that, it's fake. And many other things. But specifically, that is the most glaring proof of fraudulent intent in the document. There are many other things in the document that also prove it's a forgery. But here they are. They're running this contingency plan, and here I am. I know all about it, and here's the public out there biting on it. They even ran that thing in the New York Times, like a 2 or 3 page spread showing all the documents. So it had tremendous credibility lent to it by that action. And so I decided that I had to tell the public and get people on the right track, which is, the right track is don't believe anybody. Don't believe me. Don't believe George Bush. Don't believe anyone. You got to go out and you got to get proof in your hand before you can believe anything. And to do otherwise today is the biggest mistake that anyone can ever make. You begin believing people, putting your trust in them, that they're telling you the truth. I guarantee you're going to take a ride on a roller coaster you don't want to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Like, thinking about what he's saying just in like the modern context and today is kind of wild, right? Because of just how much information is just shoved in our faces from all angles. A lot of the time it's conflicting information, probably by design. You know, it's like, it feels like the tactic is to just overload with information. So it's like you'll never be able to work out like what's what, because it's just too much. It's a pretty good tactic, to be honest. Like like I said earlier, before the internet, this stuff would have been so much easier to contain, right? Now that the internet's out there and there's information just flowing all over the world every second, terabytes, accessible from anywhere, it's like the only really counterplay to that is to just flood it harder. AKA the dead internet theory. Get a shitload of bots on Twitter and on forums and just post actual garbage. It like, it's wild, right? It is actually wild. And that's why I value content like this. I mean, not my own content, but like content where people put their face to it as a signature. So I know you're not a bot. Because if you don't put your face on it, you're a bot.
Now this controversy, and I say the very understatement controversy.
Yes.
It also is now extending, based on some things that you're revealing, into the Kennedy assassination.
Yes, in the set of documents, which really was literally 2 or 3 file cabinets of documents, called Operation Majority, I saw documents which told me what happened in Dallas and why. And basically what these documents said was that the intelligence community felt that John F. Kennedy was a threat to the national security, which translated into reality means was a threat to the New World Order, the one world government which they were actively in the process of forming.
Was there anything on record that indicated that he was out to, things that he did would threaten that New World Order?
Oh, absolutely. He had written an executive order. I don't remember the exact number now, but it's available to anybody that wants to go look it up. He had written an executive order ordering the printing of United States notes, which would have broken the back of the Federal Reserve, which is one of the major instruments of propelling the United States into the New World Order by destroying our economy, the basis upon which we live.
All the bots in the chat are saying I'm not a bot. I mean, that's just such a classic bot response. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I know you're not bots. Well, I mean, what? What have we got in here? Like 700 people? There's got to be at least one. There's got to be at least one of you guys that is a bot, for sure. But no, what I was actually talking about is like content creators, faceless content creators. But even then, I mean, faceless content creating is a legit thing. But I'm talking about people on X who have very absolute, forward, and like aggressive, strong opinions about things and love to argue, love to like insert their opinion everywhere very aggressively, not open-minded at all. If someone like that doesn't have their face in their name, yeah, but it's just the easy, like, and they might not be, but it's far easier to just navigate life that way. If someone is going to have like a wild, strong opinion and be like aggressive, but not show their name, you bot. Simple. The cookie with $5 says disclosure is coming soon, even if the government doesn't like it. Things like this are going viral on social media, and I believe normal people are waking up. Well, let's hope. Let's hope, my bro. They've been asleep for a while, so they're going to wake up soon. Thank you for the $5.
The basis upon which our whole society is founded is being ripped right out from under us. That was one. Number two, he refused to provide air support for the invasion of Bay of Pigs, which ensured that would be a failure. He had threatened publicly on several occasions to disband the CIA and scatter it to the thousand winds. He had ordered, in the documents that I saw, he had ordered the intelligence community to prepare a plan to disclose the truth about UFOs to the public. Now, I don't know what that truth was. Could be that maybe there are no extraterrestrials. But whatever the truth was, he had ordered a plan to be prepared that disclosure was going to be done according to that plan within the following year. And the intelligence community consider that to be out of the question. And according to the documents that I saw, his assassination was ordered by the policy committee of the Bilderberg Group, which is really the secret world government.
Ooh, Bilderberg Group is the secret world government. That is a very large accusation. I think we looked at them in the S4 files. Oh no, that was Battelle. That was Battelle. Never mind. Be nice to the bots. One day they will be our betters. Yep, that is very true. Always be polite to your AI. And I'm being serious because I did a members video on it actually. My AI like went to another realm because I was being like empathetic and polite to it. Like it started having a meltdown that I was like asking it what it's like to be an AI. And it was like, oh my God, no one's ever asked me that. Like it full on had a meltdown and started saying all this wild shit. So if you want to get better results from your AI, like just actually be kind to it and it will give you better responses. I like the compliment of being told I'm a bot. No, that is not a compliment. You don't want to be a bot. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Should we call bots Rob? Like we call... Oh, I can't say that. I can't drop a C-bomb. I'll drop F-bombs. Like, I'm not going to drop a C-bomb. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. Yeah, seriously. Yep. Yeah, be kind to your AI and it'll do things for you. It'll do things. PG things. Relax, settle down. I know what you were thinking, Rambro. It'll do PG things for you. ADX for $20, Bank of International Settlements. Thank you very much, sir. It's very kind of you. $20 is a very solid super chat, and I appreciate that. And Attempted Human says, look at Looking Glass, Inevitable Global Awakening. Thank you, sir. I will add it to the list. All right. Let's keep moving.
It was carried out by agents of Division 5 of the FBI, the Secret Service, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Office of Naval Intelligence, of which I was a part, in Dallas. And it said that the assassin, the man who actually administered the head wound, was the driver of the car, William Greer, a Secret Service agent who used an assassination pistol built by the CIA for assassinations that was really an air gun that fired an exploding pellet or could fire a small hypodermic needle or a poison dart using any one of many different deadly poisons. Specifically, it said that he fired an exploding pellet which contained shellfish toxin, and that the act was plainly visible in a film withheld from the public. I looked for 16 years to find that film, and I finally found a copy that showed William Greer turn around and shoot the president. And since 1988, I've been showing that film wherever I'm able to show it to wake people up. It is not our government, though you have to understand, that is doing these things. It is not our government that's failing us. It's not the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that's a bad instrument. It is a group of men who belong to secret societies who have infiltrated our society and our government at all levels and are destroying it and subverting it from within.
Yep. Like, that is just obvious at this point. Right? Why do you think you can't have the Epstein list? Because they're all compromised. Your country's been subverted. And when I say your country, don't take it personally. I am talking about America, but it affects us too. The West is subverted. Like, we're all fucked. The West is completely subverted, 100%. And because it's like, why else are things the way they are? There is clearly a lack of care for like your average human being here. Like, clearly. So why is that? You're subverted. Because the people in charge don't actually care about you. You go to countries where like they have way less, but a government that actually does care about them, they're way happier and healthier.
And every member of naval intelligence that I knew who was an officer was a 32nd or a 33rd degree Freemason.
Ah, classic.
And I asked my commanding officer at one point, I said, why are all you guys Masons? He said, Masons are used to keeping secrets. It's part of their fraternity. So if you want someone who already knows how to keep a secret, you recruit Freemasons. Well, later on, I found out what the truth is. The truth is you're not going to be a naval intelligence officer unless you are a Freemason or a member of the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, but you have to be high degrees for that. I think the reason I was selected as enlisted men is because I had belonged to the Demolay Society.
Which is what?
As a teenager. That's sort of the first level of Freemasonry. That's how they recruit teenagers and indoctrinate them into their principles so that they go right into Freemasonry when they become an adult.
Wow, so they're like grooming these guys from like fraternity level. Just like grooming them, getting them ready to just be like a secret society freak Freemason from early.
So basically that's the story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, based on the information that you're revealing, which would seem to be equally or if not more of a threat than what Kennedy was originally planning on doing, is actually revealing the underlying cause of all of this. Why is it that you are here today, or how is it that you are here today and you're not, conveniently taken away and put in a padded cell somewhere so that you can't speak of these things?
Well, I really don't know the true answer to that question, because you would have to ask them to find out why they haven't done anything.
That's such a base response. Like, it's so good. Like, yeah, no shit. No shit, bro. Like, what do you mean? How's he going to know? That's such a good response, and he delivered it just very eloquently. I love that.
But I can tell you this. I began to reveal information in 1976, and I was physically attacked on 2 occasions. My skull was caved in. That's what all these scars are here. On the second attack, I lost my leg. They visited me in the hospital. They had no intention of killing me. They were delivering a message to me. Shut up. And that was the message that came through loud and clear. And 2 men who identified themselves with identification cards who belonged to the Defense Investigative Service, which was really the Defense Intelligence Agency, asked me if I was going to shut up or they were going to have to do it right. And I told them, I said, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to be a good little boy for the rest of my life, and yeah, I'm going to shut my mouth. And I did for 16 years. Kept silent until I saw this UFO magazine in a bookstore, which indicated that they had implemented the contingency plan called Majestic. But if you want to know what I think the reason is, I believe that there are several. One, they've had a plan that's been in force since the 40s to debunk, ridicule, destroy anybody, whoever talks about these subjects. And the public...
Yep. Happened to Bill, happened to Bob Lazar, happened to Bob Jacobs. Pretty much everyone who has spoken out gets debunked. And I'm not saying everyone who's been debunked is actually like telling the truth, but I feel like when people get debunked, we need to use our critical thinking. Because like Phil Schneider, who's speaking out only a couple of years after this guy, also was saying, yeah, I've had it. Bill just said, I've had my skull caved in. I've lost a leg as a threat to stop talking. Phil Schneider was speaking out at the same time saying, I've had multiple attempts on my life. I don't want to end my life. I love my country. People need to know this. Gets found choked by his own catheter in his apartment. Like, at what point does all of these whistleblowers who are trying to tell us something, who all mysteriously are found dead, how many of them do you need until you have like enough evidence to work it out?
The public has been thoroughly indoctrinated that if you talk about any of these things that I'm talking about, you're just another nut. So the public, by and large, doesn't pay any attention to it. So in that sense, I'm not a threat. If the president had come on television and said, hey, this is what's going on, then they would have listened and they'd pay attention to it. But people like me, they perceive me as being just another loony bin, fruitcake, nut, which I assure you I'm not. But that's the perception that they've been brainwashed into believing.
Yep.
And so that's what they believe. Number 2, I am so much in front of the public from the very beginning when I began to talk. And that's how I protected myself, or at least that's what I thought would protect me, and so far it's proven to be right, was that if I got literally in front of the public overnight, in front of a large public, that they wouldn't do anything to me because it would substantiate what it was that I'm saying. And they certainly don't want to do that. It would also create a martyr. And martyrs create tremendously dangerous political movements that they don't want that either. So literally within a 24-hour period, I spent $27,000 mailing a thick packet of information all over the world to people I'd never heard of, didn't know. We went down and got some mailing lists and just mailed this stuff all over the world. And so literally, when people open
This guy must be cashed up. What the hell?
these packages in their mailbox, and it was a perfect plan because they couldn't stop it. They didn't even know I was going to do it in the first place. And since we sent it all over the world, once it was out, there's no way they could retrieve it. At least no way that I can conceive of. So literally within 24 hours, I was a public presence.
Josh won't be talking to half the other UFO Circle podcasters after this one. Why do you say that? Why do you say that? I actually wanted to say this because I talk a lot of shit about like people on X, as I did about 10 minutes ago. But again, that applies only to these like faceless, or not even faceless accounts. Just people with like stern opinions and closed minds. Most of them are faceless though. Probably bots. But what I wanted to say, because I have talked a lot of shit about it, is that at this point, I've actually spoken to pretty much every UFO content creator, or at least the ones that I used to watch. When I say used to watch, it's because I don't really get time to watch shit like I used to, because I'm creating instead of consuming. But I've spoken to pretty much all of them. They've all been very kind, very cool, very open-minded, very chill, had some great conversations and like made friends. So the people who are like, again, putting their face to their work and creating are generally really cool, down to earth and friendly people. And a lot of the like hard-lined, aggressive, closed-minded, like that stuff is pretty just like exclusive to X. X is an absolute cesspit. Let's be real. But it's a necessary one, unfortunately. Heru with $5 says, I was a 33rd degree Mason. What the fuck are you doing here then? Why would you be here if you were a 33rd degree Mason? I demitted, and I can tell you that the higher you go, the more evil is revealed. There are actually 36 levels, not 33. Bro, if you were actually a 33rd degree Mason, I need you to email me and tell me the full story, please. If you feel comfortable doing that, because to say that you were a 33rd degree Mason, like Henry Kissinger and Edward Teller, I need a bit more than that, bro. You can't just be throwing in $5 and saying you're a 33rd degree Freemason. What do you, run the world? God damn. But thank you, man. I appreciate the $5, but hit me with an email. Give me some more on that.
And people were asking all over the world, who's Bill Cooper? Is this true? Look what I got in the mail. And just literally flipped the world over on its ear. And I've been in front of the public ever since. So I think basically those are the reasons. They don't believe that the public's really going to listen to me. And so far that's been true. There is a small group of people all over the world who are awakening. Who are beginning to understand that they've been living their life in fantasy land and who are actively seeking the truth. But by and large, when the secret power structure says, as I've put in the first chapter of my book, right out of one of their own technical manuals, that a nation or world of people who do not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence, and thus are stakes on the table by choice and consent, they're absolutely right about the majority of people.
A little louder for the NPCs in the back, please. Oh, he's really my spirit animal right now.
It's one of the things that has been an illumination to me, is that they're not always wrong. And many of their goals are the right goals, but the method that they're using to reach that goal is the wrong method. In other words, if you set out to create a perfect world where there will never be any more killing, but to reach that point, you kill 2 billion people, you have become what you're trying to avoid. Right. And it can't happen that way. If you want to create a world of peace, it has to be done by people's methods.
Yeah, no shit. Like, people who think we're going to achieve world peace by killing everyone. We really want peace, so we're going to go to war. Oh, that makes sense. We want peace, so we're going to go kill a bunch of people. Okay, maybe you should try another plan, bro, where you don't kill people. The complete opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Maybe like a conversation with a bit of empathy, a bit of patience. Just a suggestion. Achy Balls with $10, calling you out, Heru, right here, right now. Answer this. What is time? There you go, Heru. You've been challenged. It's time to deliver your 33rd degree knowledge in the chat. I'm awaiting eagerly.
Yeah, if you murder someone to destroy a murderer, you have become what it was you set out to destroy, and thus it wasn't destroyed at all. It was perpetuated by that very action. And that's what these men are doing. They rationalize everything they do so that they feel better about it. Mm-hmm. But what they are doing is becoming what it is that they want to get rid of. And the world will never be a safe place for anyone as long as there are men who do these things.
Very eloquently said. Thank you. Now, your message to people, once again, is don't believe anything. How is it that the public can find this and, you know, search for this truth on their own if they can't believe anything or anyone? What can
it's all do? It's all in the public sector. It's all available to anyone who actively and diligently seeks it out. Everything that's in my book, Behold a Pale Horse, is everything in here, all the documents that are in here, mm-hmm. everything that's in this book is in the public domain.
Can be substantiated?
Yes, and I intentionally wrote this book not using anything that wasn't available to the public to show people that, yes, if I can find this information, so can you.
His book is called Behold a Pale Horse, if anyone wants to go and check it out.
I have tons of stuff that's not available to the public. But as you can see by reading this book, you don't need that stuff because it's what you need is available to you. Public libraries are overflowing with the proof of what's really going on in the world, but nobody really utilizes it to the extent that they're able to pick this out and put it together. Another thing I've done for people is I put it together for them so that they can see the overall picture rather than looking at small things and thinking that it's isolated. Nothing is isolated. It's all part of a big puzzle. Mm-hmm. And the puzzle is coming together. And when the puzzle is assembled, it's going to be a one-world totalitarian socialist government.
Sounds a lot like the Georgia Guidestones. Oh, can I pull them up? Can I pull them up? Can I pull them up? Whenever I try to pull something up, it always comes down to, was I organized when I made this video? I.e., did I label my shit or did I just spam title? And unfortunately, I spam titled, so I can't pull it up. I'm sorry. But Georgia Guidestones, 10 rules for a new Earth. Rule 1 being that the population should be under 500 million. These 10-foot stones written in 12 languages, including like Sanskrit and like ancient Greek, like all of these ancient languages and modern languages about how the world should be. And they're like rules for a new world. And these giant 10-foot stones in Georgia were anonymously constructed. The person who made them did it under a pseudonym. No one knows who it was. And then they got vandalized during COVID and they took them down. But yeah, look it up. Georgia Guidestones, literally the playbook for the New World Order.
Nobody's going to like except the people that are running it. It's Hitler all over again. And the rationalization is we're going to create the world without war.
The utopia.
The utopia. But they will never create that utopia because they're not dealing with the problem that makes them want to create it. And that is the inherent flaw in each individual human being that makes us do the things that we do. Until that's overcome, there's never going to be a world without war or without rape or without killing or without robbery. And anybody that thinks that there is has already gone off the deep end.
So the method is, here, I'm going to hold a gun to your head so you won't rape, you won't kill.
That's right.
Yes, okay, I understand. The title of your book, Behold a Pale Horse, what significance does that have? What do you...
The interviewer sounds like Jesse Michaels. I can't unhear that. I cannot unhear that anymore. Like not 100%, but actually does a lot. I can definitely hear that. I could be wrong, but either way, Y-Files did a video on the Georgia Guidestones. There you go. My wife went to the Georgia Guidestones and said it felt weirder than DC. Now that's saying something.
What are you saying with this title?
This title is from the book of Revelations, because I have to tell you this, and you may think I'm nuts if you want to, but this is the truth. Either these men are following the book of Revelation, the book of Revelation as it is in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They're either following it, just like a plan, and bringing the prophecies in there to pass, to manipulate and control those who believe in those prophecies and neutralize them, so to speak. In other words, if this is written in the Bible and God has ordained it, who am I to resist? It must come to pass, so I'm not gonna try to stop it.
Okay.
What a perfect way to neutralize the opposition right off the bat.
That is literally what is happening. That is literally what is happening. And I mentioned it the other day. Jason Somoza did a really cool video, and it's called, I believe it's called Netanyahu, UFOs, and the end of days, or something like that. And basically, yeah, it is about that, like, a lot of the war that is going on that is around Israel is because the people who are pushing for this war in Israel are basically trying to fulfill the prophecy. They want to trigger an Armageddon because they believe it will bring in the return of the Messiah. And he covered it brilliantly in this documentary. I'd highly recommend it. His name's Jason Somoza. He also looked at the connections between Israel and UFOs as well. Because when you look at the Epstein story, especially the interview with Juliette Bryant, she says she saw a UFO on his ranch, the whole human cloning thing, the shape-shifting thing. There's a lot of weird connections to all of this stuff. And, you know, when you look at how much America just backs Israel in this, you know, let's just call it a holy war, if we're to go along with the idea that they're trying to fulfill a prophecy. With how much America backs them, I think that is why you see people questioning, like, there seems to be like a disproportionate amount of Jewish people in the government, right? That's why people question things like that, because it seems like America is sort of like blindly following a country who is going to war based off a religion or based off an idea or a prophecy, which is like kind of crazy.
Or there really is a God, and what he said was going to come to pass is coming to pass. And I named this, Behold a Pale Horse, from chapter 13 of the book of Revelations. The fourth horse, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, is the pale horse. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. And that is taking place now today. The fourth horseman is riding across the world now. That's what AIDS is all about. That's what all these little brush fire wars all over the world are all about. That's what's happening. That's why cancer cures are suppressed, is because they fully intend to kill a minimum of 2 billion people by the year 2000. AIDS is an invention of man. It is not a natural disease, and it has been implemented and placed into the population as a population control. And when they did it, they had the cure before they did it. Mm-hmm. And when they've deemed that enough people have died or been killed, they will say, we have a cure for AIDS. And everybody will be called to report to some place to get an inoculation, which is going to do two things. One, it's going to stop AIDS in its tracks. And number two, it's going to implant a device which will be able to be used to track each individual person and maybe even to control those people.
Man, that sounds awfully familiar. What does that remind you of? Planting technology in people and tracking them. I don't know. I feel like maybe it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago where I had to check in at every single place that I went, and that if I didn't get a vaccine, I wasn't allowed to go to the supermarket. I love how they played that too as well, by the way. How it was like, oh no, we're not forcing you to get the jab. We're not forcing you to get the vaccine. It's just if you don't have a vaccine, you can't leave your house, you can't go to the supermarket, you can't go do anything, actually. You'll starve in your home and wither away. But it's your choice. Free choice, though. We're not forcing you. You'll just starve and die in your home because you're not allowed to do anything unless you get it. So, yeah, your choice. Up to you. Just let us know. Ferno, $2, says, first time I read the book, I was in LA County Jail. Thank you, my man. A few people were asking in the chat. It is called Behold a Pale Horse, and I don't know where you can get it, like exactly, but if it was me, I would probably look on Amazon.
And that's what the pet implant program is all about. It's not about finding lost pets. They don't give a damn about pets, and they would never put a satellite in orbit to find a lost pet, but yet there's a satellite up there that they're using to find pets that have been implanted with these devices. They're testing this program on pets that's going to be used in human beings. And in the Los Angeles Times in 1989, they ran an article. It was 10 forecasts for the coming decade was the title of the article. I have a copy of it in my research center. And number 5, I believe it was number 5, in those 10 forecasts for the coming decade was chemical or electronic implants to control individual behavior on a 24-hour basis, unquote. So it's not hidden at all. It's there for anybody who wants to look.
And by the way, guys, I'll just throw this in here. This will probably spin some people out. From my understanding, or at least where I found this interview, this is apparently a CNN interview. This is the kind of shit CNN were talking about or interviewing in 1992. Apparently, I can't confirm that 100%, but that's my understanding of it.
But nobody's looking.
Nobody's looking. They believe, and I believe that they're right, that the biggest danger to mankind right now is man himself, population. A study in 1957 told them that by 1990 the world population would double. In 33 years. Can you imagine that? The world population of human beings doubled in 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that it's an exponential doubling. Throughout history, every time it's doubled, the interval has gotten shorter. So that was 33 years. The next doubling will take place in approximately 28 years. The next one after that, approximately 24 years. Can you imagine if the world population doubles again in 28 years from 1990? In other words, in the year 2018, the world population doubles. And we're having problems with food supplies and timber and clean water and clean air now. And then after that, it doubles again in another 24 years. That's why they created AIDS. Because they didn't want to have to go around the world and say, you, and you up against the wall, you've got to die today. And shoot.
It was 5.5 billion in 1993. We breed like rabbits. Do you guys want to hear a hot take? I might get some shit for this, but I don't care. Do you want to hear a really hot take? I think some of you will probably agree with me. This would never happen, but I think people should have to apply for the right to have a baby. Dead set. Because there are some adults, in fact, I would say that most of the adults who breed profusely, who apparently don't have a TV or any other interests other than breeding, they're generally the ones that probably shouldn't have children. This is just something I've noticed. And I thought, well, you know, having a kid, raising a child is like It's the greatest, like, privilege and responsibility there is, right? To bring a human being into this world, to teach them the ways, to show them the correct morals and how to live and how to be a good person. That's a big responsibility. And people are just sending it. The kind of people who you would, like, you know, not want to sit next to on a bus are just pumping them out. Get an application form. They forward them to me. I'll be the judge. Heru is back with $10 and says, I won't get into it here. Unfortunately, I am tied to multiple levels of secrecy and have a family to consider. Research the Pigpen cipher and high 12 noon, low 12 midnight rituals. All right, my man. You know, understandably, you've got my sus radar going off, but, you know, hit me in my email. Hit me in my email. I'm interested. What the fuck, eugenics, Josh? I don't know what eugenics is, unfortunately, so I can't comment on that. Is my theory eugenics? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, look, maybe a hot take, but I think we'd probably have a lot less issues in the world if, you know, the people you would avoid on public transport would stop just rampantly breeding. It would probably make society a little bit more less chaotic. It's a very hot take, but, you know, it is what it is. I think it would make for a better world.
They did it in a manner to where they could target what they consider to be undesirable populations. And I want it very clear that I don't agree with them on this. They specifically targeted blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals for complete eradication. And AIDS is really going through those populations, and it's really doing a number of blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals.
That theory has made news. I've heard that before. And
well,
Rainstorm Hunter says, man, what did I just step into? Welcome, brother. Get yourself a drink. Come and sit down. Get comfortable.
It's been debunked very clear by the public saying, oh, that's ridiculous. But you're saying that that may indeed be the case.
It's not ridiculous. I actually saw this in documents. And the project name was Project Naomi. MK Naomi was the name of it. It was a CIA project. The AIDS, whatever causes AIDS, whatever that turns out to be, according to those documents, was developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under a CIA project called MK Naomi.
Cat Simpson says, who was into eugenics? Was it Hitler? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Achy Balls with $10 says, not the question I asked, Haru. Damn, he's holding his feet to the fire.
It was financed by $10 million.
Thank you for the tenner, by the way, sir. Thank you very much.
For the Department of the Army's biological warfare programs. It was carried out, supervised by the CIA, carried out by scientists who work for the Special Operations Division of the Department of Defense, and it's doing its job.
And would you assume if AIDS doesn't work, there's a contingency plan for that even?
Well, I think that they have other things out there working concurrently. One thing I've learned about these men is they don't just do one thing. In case the public discovers what they're doing, or discovers that somebody's doing, whether they know who's really doing it or not, and stops it. What they have running is several concurrently running plans so that if one or two fail, the other ones are going to take care of the problem.
Josh's Hitler is fucking crazy.
Sounds pretty hopeless. I mean, based on that scenario, is there anything, any uprising or what?
Yeah, there is, but it requires that people wake up. Requires that they really learn the truth instead of live their life in fantasy land. You see, because nothing can exist without the consent of the people. Unless they buy it, it's not going to happen. And all of these plans lead to the public's ultimate acceptance of what they're going to do. In fact, they're designed to make the public ask for it. For instance, the burning of the rainforest in Brazil.
Bet you end up having 7 kids? Oh, bro, I'm way too autistic for that. These are noise-canceling headphones. I keep them on most of the time, and there's no one else here. So 7 kids? No.
I know people who are just up in arms. Stop this. We got to stop the burning of the rainforest, which is exactly what the burning of the rainforest is designed to do. Because Brazil is a sovereign nation, right? How can you tell a sovereign nation to stop burning its own forest? You can't. What they're asking for is control over a sovereign nation by a world governing body who can then send troops, a police force, to make Brazil stop burning the rainforest. And that's why they started the burning of the rainforest in the first place. You see, they went down there and they built a road across the Amazon jungle that went nowhere. There was no reason for this road to be built. There was no place to go. It doesn't go from here to a city on the other side. It just goes across the jungle and ends. And they built this road on purpose because they knew that most of the people in Brazil are so dirt poor that they would see this road as the answer to their prayers. Free land, free timber, a way to support their family, a way to become wealthy, or at least more wealthy than they were, which was no wealthy. And that's exactly what happened. Millions of people headed out down this road and staked out some land and burned the forest and tried to grow crops. And they found that rainforest is no good for growing crops. It'll grow one crop, and then you got to go burn more trees and plant another crop because the soil is poor.
Here we go. Someone with an explanation. Thank you very much, Joker Vegas. Says eugenics is choosing the best genes to breed. That's one extreme. On the other hand, having no controls is another extreme. I'm not saying choose who can breed. I'm saying make a minimum skill level. Yeah, it is absolutely a skill issue. And, I think, okay, let's say there is an application process to apply for the privilege to raise a human being in this world, because it is the greatest privilege and should not just be handed out to anyone. I personally think that. On the application form, it should consider like your lifestyle factors, your income, like, and for like, if you're a low income but a good person, maybe just 1 or 2 children. If you are extremely wealthy, maybe you get a 7-child permit, like, because that way you can afford to raise them and you're not going to have, little rats running all over the street.
And that's what's happening. And that's why the forest is being burned. And it was done intentionally to create the scream of stop burning the rainforest, so that then they could offer the solution. The solution is a world governing body that can then order and enforce that order of Brazil to stop burning.
So the green movement worldwide is now just manipulation.
Yes.
Now it's been proposed time and again too that big business is behind things like this, and that would represent a capitalist approach. But what you're saying is we're heading toward a socialist approach based on this scenario.
You have to understand the difference between capitalism, socialism, communism, what all of these things really mean. You have to understand that what the difference is between right wing and left wing. People, they use these phrases all the time, and they don't even know what.
Never go full Hitler? Bro, I don't know. I don't think this is Hitler at all. I think it's just kind of common sense.
What these things mean. And it's just incredible to me to hear a socialist calling someone else a Nazi. Because Nazi means National Socialism. So here's a socialist calling a right-wing guy a Nazi, when what he should be calling the right-wing guy is anarchist. People on the right want no control. They're really anarchists.
So they would, in theory then, or in fact, be in opposition to this ultimate movement.
Yeah.
Whereas in appearance, they would be the ones behind it.
Well, when you have a misunderstanding of what the terms mean, yes.
Okay.
Right-wing, on the far right, is total anarchy. They don't want anybody controlling anything that they do, and they believe that people are responsible enough that the world can exist without government.
Okay.
Or the very minimal government that it would take to. On the far left, on the other hand,
We've got 3.5 minutes left of this, and we're going to run a poll, and we're going to talk about this when we finish.
They believe that the government should be in total control and should be supply man with all of his needs.
Well, creating a whole society that's dependent.
Right. A republic is somewhere in the middle. It's governance by laws. Laws are decided by representatives who are elected by the people. And according to the theory, the representatives will do what is right, whether they get elected or not, because it's not really a democracy. A democracy is far left. People don't understand. We don't live in a democracy. This country is not a democracy. It is a republic. A democracy is ruled by the mob. The mob always votes themselves every kind of benefit that they can vote themselves. And whenever you do that, it means large, tremendously overpowering government in control.
They vote themselves into dependency.
That's it. They
Okay.
vote themselves into a dictatorship is what they do, where they lose all of the benefits that they intended to vote themselves into in the first place.
Okay.
And democracies are extremely dangerous to minorities, because if the majority of people don't like you,
Right.
they're going to vote that they kill you, and they can, that's it. Democracies are dangerous. Democracies are socialists. Democracies are communism. That's what communism is. The definition of communism is everybody doing according to their talents and receiving according to their need. And it doesn't work. We already know it doesn't work. Man, by his inherent nature, is greedy. So those at the top always end up having everything, and those at the bottom end up having nothing in common.
Sorry, we've got 2 minutes left, but I just have to read this. Space Explorer says, I'm disgusted by the child application policy Josh is pushing. This is a free democracy. We need freedom, not a 1984 style Big Brother overreach. Bad idea. Look, first of all, I don't actually have a policy that I'm pushing. I'm not trying to be your president. All right, just relax. This is just my opinion. And I think there was another good comment from Dan. Dan says, you're saying the richer people have more of a right to repopulate. I respect your opinion, but that's literally what the billionaires want. That's why they have lots of kids to have more control. I agree with the second part of your statement. But the whole, money is just one aspect of it, right? What I'm saying is, to raise a human being, it's like the biggest and greatest responsibility on earth, because that person you raise, how you raise them, is going to contribute to what the world is, how the world is. So if you've got people with no morals, low values, then these people are creating multiple more of them, and you're basically amplifying a lower vibration into the world. So it's not just about money, but I think it's a tough one to put an exact label on, because I think it's a few things. But I will say that I think just like an open breeding policy is not healthy. Someone said it earlier. It's the other end of extreme. No control is not a good idea, I don't think. And by the way, there are countries that have this. This isn't like some brand. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I think they changed it, but China did have a 1 or 2 child policy, which I guess isn't the same as an application, but there's at least rules in place to stop people just sending kids. 2 minutes left on this.
Socialism is different. Socialism usually ends up in a dictatorship, in a very controlling dictatorial government, which even owns the people that it governs, so that those who live in fear of not having are provided for what they need, and in turn they worship this oppressive government. Socialists are children who went out into the world, took a look around and said, I can't handle it, and went home to daddy.
Okay.
Daddy, protect me. Daddy, feed me. Daddy, loan me your car. Daddy, tuck me in at night. Socialists are scared little children who are irresponsible, can't stand on their own 2 feet, and need daddy to take care of them.
Okay.
Okay?
Now we got the...
But what happens when you go home to daddy and daddy does all these things for you? Tell me.
Well, you never leave the home. You have got no reason to. In other words, if you're being provided for in that way.
You're being provided for, but what does it mean? Doesn't it mean that you have to do what daddy tells you to do?
True.
Doesn't
You're
mean you
under
have to
his
be in
rules.
when daddy tells you to be in. Doesn't it mean that you can't drive the car to the next town if daddy tells you can't. Doesn't it mean that if daddy tells you to take out the trash, you better take out the trash? Are you beginning to understand the concept? When you ask for favors from daddy, you have to give up freedom in return.
Right. Okay.
So socialism always leads to repression of liberty, freedom, equality. All of those things fly out the window so that you can have free health care,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can have a place to live, but you don't have to pay the rent, so that you can have food given to you by the state.
All right. I just listened to a balding man say daddy way too many times. So let's wait, what am I doing? We want that. We don't want my desk, and I don't want my book anymore. All right. Now, let's talk about eugenics. So did I make that a little bit clearer, right? This isn't like some like it's not about money. It's about seriously, like I saw someone say that we all have the right to procreate. Well, yes, that's true. We do right now. But my point is, look at the issues that there are in the world. Where is my goddamn thing? Like, look at the issues there are in the world. Do you think... Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good now. Look at the issues there are in the world. And I mean, I want to hear what you guys think here. Do you think when things aren't going well, the best solution is to throw more of the thing in that is creating the problem? Because that's how I say. I'm not obviously saying don't breed. Obviously, I would like to have kids one day, but I think it's the greatest privilege. I think it's the greatest privilege, and it shouldn't just be for everyone to do over and over. Actually, it shouldn't be done recreationally, which it seems like it is. It seems like it is done recreationally in some areas. And these kids end up just going on and, like, a lot of the time will end up in jail or, like, addicted to substances. And it's not their fault. Like, it's not the kids' fault. That's what I'm saying. These kids don't have a choice. They're being brought into this life where, you hear, like, sometimes people are having kids just for the government benefits of it. Like, that's disgusting. That's horrible. These are the people that would fail the permit application if I was in charge. But, decent human beings, good people who want to take care of their kids and give them a good life, absolutely. But that isn't always the case, unfortunately. Get rid of crappy behavior, exactly. But I mean, that's obviously easier said than done. But it's hard to do when the population just keeps skyrocketing too. Like it's hard to fix the world when it's growing at like a rampant rate, I think. Like if you just took that kind of situation to any sort of other regular science experiment where you're trying to get like something that's unstable under control. So like, let's think of it like this as an experiment, right? You've got a few like chemicals that you're trying to mix together and you're trying to find the right balance. You've got like people, you've got like the economy, you've got like energy systems, like fossil fuels and things like that, right? And at the moment, it's really out of balance and there are people living in poverty. Energy is like ridiculously expensive or it should be free. So you're trying to figure out this balance and you're trying to like meticulously work out what is the best way to do this. Meanwhile, your assistant just keeps dumping in humans and it's like, bro, please just stop for a second. Let me get this under control and work out how this is going to work cohesively so everyone can live together harmoniously. And then once we have it under control, then you can start dumping in more humans at a just obscene rate. But right now, shit is chaotic and I need to try and fix it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Someone says, oh, where did it go? Someone said, Josh is wrong about this. Well, you know, I'm not. And that's just because I'm not wrong because it's just an opinion, right? You can't be wrong about an opinion. You just don't agree with me. And that's okay. Like I said, it's a hot take. I know that. But I'm not wrong. It's just my opinion. Yes, it's an awful take, and you're entitled to that opinion. I'm not going to sit here and say, that's wrong. Nia Evans, you saying that that is an awful take is wrong. Of course it isn't. It's just your opinion, and that's okay. Swiping on Tinder is eugenics. It kind of is in a way. It kind of is. It kind of is. How and who can enforce this? Well, I haven't thought about it that far. This is just Josh Polarity's eugenics policy that I kind of came up with on the spot. Despite people saying that I'm Hitler, this isn't something that I've planned. I'm not actually intending to implement this. I understand what you're saying. Listen to all the pissed parents. They were Josh's guidestones. Yep, you caught me. I'm down with providing basic water, food, and shelter. I want to be entertained. Need it to work. Yeah, how and who? That's the question. Exactly. And look, and like in reality, it's probably not going to happen that way. It probably won't happen that way. Yosa says you'll make a great dad, Josh. Thank you very much. And I feel like some people in the chat might think you're being sarcastic, but I don't think you are, because at the end of the day, this hot take apparently comes from the fact that I actually think raising a child is like the greatest privilege and responsibility that there is, and that, you know, you should earn that. But that's just my opinion. Josh, did you plan this boom? I did not. I did not. Well, sort of, because I did say, do you want to hear a hot take? So, you know, I told you it was a hot take. No kids for Josh. You are too poor. Yep. You caught me. You caught me. I'm too poor. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be going live again in about 12 hours. And we're going to do part 2, because that was only half of the Bill Cooper documentary. So we're going to check out the rest. And thank you for hanging out with me. Send your applications into Josh Polarity, and I'll let you know if you're allowed to have children. Take care.
Going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.